My name is Evelyn Harper, and I am 58 years old. 3 weeks ago, I followed my daughter-in-law into a downtown hotel lobby because something in my chest would not stay quiet. I was not snooping. I was not suspicious by nature. I was a mother who felt a shift in her son's voice, a hesitation, a distance, a silence that did not belong in a happy marriage. I told myself I was imagining things until I saw her. Before I tell you what happened next, take a moment to like this video and subscribe if stories about truth, betrayal, and family loyalty matter to you, and tell me where you are watching from. I read every comment. Now let me take you back to the exact moment my world changed. It was a Thursday afternoon in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had just left a charity board meeting when I saw my daughter-in-law, Brianna Collins, stepping out of a silver sedan that was not my son's car. She was not dressed for errands. She was dressed with intention. He stepped out after her, tall, confident. His hand rested on the small of her back like it belonged there. That is when my stomach dropped. My son, Daniel Harper, has been married to Brianna for 4 years. 4 years of Sunday dinners at my house, 4 years of Thanksgiving photos, 4 years of listening to her call me mom in front of relatives. And there she was, laughing softly as that man leaned toward her before they walked into the Grand Arcadia Hotel together. I sat frozen in my car. I could have driven away. I could have told myself there was an explanation. But a mother knows when something is wrong. I waited exactly 7 minutes before stepping out and following them inside. The lobby was bright with marble floors and tall windows. A quiet piano played near the bar. They stood at the check-in desk. She handed over an ID. He leaned close enough that their shoulders touched. I did not need to see more, but I saw everything. The receptionist smiled and handed them a single key card. 1 room, 1 key. They walked toward the elevators. His hand moved lower on her back, casual and familiar. When the elevator doors closed, I felt something inside me close too. Not shock, not even anger. Clarity. I stepped outside and sat back in my car with both hands gripping the steering wheel. I could have called Daniel right then. I could have screamed. I could have exposed her immediately. Instead, I made one call, not to my son, not to a friend. I called someone who could make sure the truth would never be twisted. Because I know Brianna. She is careful. She is charming. She prepares stories before anyone asks questions. I was not going to confront her without proof, and I was not going to let my son become the fool in his own marriage. The person who answered my call said 4 words that changed everything. I can handle this. I hung up the phone and sat in my car for a long moment, my heart hammering in my chest. The lobby doors reflected my face back at me, pale and tense. I knew what I had to do next. Daniel would never forgive me if he saw me act rashly. I had to be meticulous. I had to be smart. I had to ensure the truth reached him in a way that could not be denied. I stepped inside the hotel again, acting casual, like a stranger passing through the lobby. My eyes scanned for Brianna and that man. I spotted them near the elevators. They were laughing softly, leaning into each other, whispering. The kind of intimacy no mother should witness in a daughter-in-law who is married to her son. I did not approach them. I did not shout. I took out my phone, pretending to scroll, while capturing their reflection in the polished marble walls. Every glance, every gesture, every touch was documented in my mind and in my phone. The elevators opened. They stepped in. I waited until they disappeared inside before I moved. I knew the floor they were heading to because of the keycard. It was all precise. I called the same person again and whispered instructions. Minutes later, someone was at the hotel under the guise of maintenance. They would confirm what I already knew. The thrill of having absolute certainty was a strange mix of satisfaction and dread. I had always taught Daniel to trust his instincts. I had always taught him that honesty is the only armor that matters. Now, I had a chance to prove those lessons in the harshest way possible. I left the hotel and returned home, where the house was quiet. Daniel was at work. He trusted Brianna implicitly. That trust made my stomach turn. I brewed a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table, thinking about how to handle the next step. Confrontation without proof would have ruined everything. Timing was everything. I reviewed the footage I had taken, every frame crystal clear. I did not need words. Their behavior spoke volumes. I could see the way Brianna leaned into him, the way her hand lingered just a little too long. My blood boiled, but I controlled myself. This was not about vengeance yet. This was about justice, and justice required patience. I made another call, this time to someone who could prepare Daniel without revealing who I was or what I knew. A subtle nudge that would make him pay attention without suspecting Brianna. I wanted him to see the truth for himself. There is nothing more powerful than a moment of revelation that comes from reality, not accusation. By the time Daniel returned home that evening, I had everything arranged. Every piece of evidence collected, verified, and documented. Brianna was blissfully unaware that her carefully constructed secret life was about to unravel. I watched the clock as Daniel parked the car. The door closed behind him. He was tired, oblivious. The perfect opportunity had arrived. I poured 2 cups of tea, though no one would drink them. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the door, my hands folded calmly, masking the storm inside. I knew this was only the beginning. I knew there would be confrontation, tears, explanations, and perhaps heartbreak. But I also knew that one call I had made would set everything in motion. That call ensured that nothing Brianna had done would remain hidden. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of control, as if the universe had tilted slightly back in my favor. This was my responsibility. This was my burden. This was my chance to protect my son from a betrayal that could have ruined his life. I waited until Daniel was inside the house before I moved. Every step I took was measured, deliberate. I knew that Brianna had no idea what I had discovered. She still thought her secret was safe. She still thought her lies were invisible. I went upstairs and retrieved the folder I had prepared. Inside were the images, the timestamps, every message I had intercepted legally, every detail documented in a clear, precise way. No exaggeration, no accusation, just facts. I set it on the kitchen table where Daniel would see it. I did not touch it further. I did not add commentary. That was not my role. My role was to protect him, to ensure that when the truth came, it came untainted and undeniable. I went back to the living room and sat, pretending to read a magazine, pretending to be calm, ordinary. I heard his keys in the lock, the soft click of the door, the shuffle of his shoes against the floor. Daniel walked in, tired from work, carrying the weight of the day. He dropped his bag and went to the kitchen, and that is when his eyes fell on the folder. He froze. I saw it in a fraction of a second. That pause, the way his shoulders stiffened, the way his gaze shifted, was confirmation that I had set the stage perfectly. He opened the folder slowly, leafing through the documents. His hands trembled ever so slightly. I did not speak. I let him discover the truth for himself. When he looked up at me, his eyes were wide, searching for explanation. I only nodded slightly, my expression unreadable. No words were necessary. The images, the timestamps, the proof of betrayal, they spoke louder than any argument could. Daniel sank into a chair, head in his hands, as the reality hit him. Brianna, his wife, had been living a lie. A life built on deception. Every gesture, every whispered word, every smile that was meant to be private between them, now exposed, undeniable. I stayed calm, though inside my mind was a whirlwind of emotions, anger, relief, sorrow, but most importantly, clarity. Daniel needed space to process. I had given him the tools to act, to confront, to make choices informed by truth. I poured 2 cups of water and set them on the table. One for him, one for me, though I knew neither of us would drink it yet. He sat there for what felt like hours, reading and rereading the materials. Each detail sank in, each proof harder to ignore. Finally, he looked up. His gaze met mine, and I could see the storm behind his eyes, the mix of shock, betrayal, and rage. He did not speak immediately. Instead, he closed the folder slowly, as if sealing away what had been revealed, readying himself for the confrontation that was inevitable. I remained silent, offering only presence, only support, only the assurance that he would not be alone in this. That was the power of the one call I had made. It had set the stage for truth, and now the moment of reckoning was approaching. I knew that the next steps would be difficult, that Brianna would have to face the consequences of her choices. But for now, Daniel had the clarity he deserved, and as I watched him gather his courage, I felt a strange calm wash over me. I had done what I had to do. I had protected my son. I had uncovered the betrayal. And nothing, not even lies, would be able to hide in the light I had brought into that kitchen. The reckoning was coming, and it would be unavoidable. I heard the car pull into the driveway, Brianna's tires crunching against the gravel. She stepped out, completely unaware that the trap was already set. I stayed in the living room, silent, pretending to be absorbed in a magazine. Daniel was upstairs gathering his thoughts, preparing himself for what had to be said. I did not rush him, did not interfere. This was his confrontation, his moment to reclaim control over a situation that had been stolen from him. I could hear Brianna laughing softly to herself as she walked up the steps, oblivious to the storm she was about to walk into. When she opened the door, the air shifted immediately. I could see it in the subtle tension in her shoulders, the way she glanced around the room. The folder on the kitchen table caught her eye, and a flicker of recognition, or perhaps panic, crossed her face. She stepped closer, pretending casual interest, pretending innocence. That was always her way. Smile, charm, pretend nothing is wrong. But this time, the pretense would not hold. Daniel appeared behind her, calm, collected, yet every step radiating authority. The weight of what she had done was about to meet the power of undeniable truth. He gestured toward the folder. Brianna hesitated. She tried to speak, to deflect, but the words caught in her throat when she saw the evidence. Every photo, every message, every secret laid bare. Daniel's eyes did not waver. He did not yell. He did not beg for explanations. He simply looked at her, the way a person looks when they are done tolerating lies, when they are done letting manipulation slide. The silence was heavier than any accusation could have been. Brianna's face paled. I could see the panic setting in. She stammered, her rehearsed lies dissolving into thin air. Daniel did not flinch. He held up one hand, calm, measured, and said the words that would define the rest of their lives. I saw everything. Do not try to lie to me again. Every syllable struck like precision. She backed away slightly, unsure, trapped, exposed. The power had shifted. She realized the game she had played for months, perhaps years, was over. I watched, a mixture of pride and relief swelling in me. My son was reclaiming his life, his dignity, his trust in himself. I did not intervene. I did not soften the blow. That was not my role. My role had been to uncover the truth, to provide the opportunity for justice. Now, Daniel had it in his hands. He asked her to leave the house. Her protests fell flat. Every excuse, every pleading gesture, every tearful attempt could not erase the undeniable proof of betrayal she had left behind. She gathered her things in silence, the weight of exposure pressing down on her. The moment she stepped out the door, I exhaled, a tension I had not realized I was holding finally leaving me. Daniel turned to me, gratitude and calm determination in his eyes. I nodded. No words were needed. The betrayal had been confronted. The liar had been exposed. And my son had the clarity, the power, and the respect for himself restored. That evening, we sat together, the folder gone, the confrontation behind us. I poured 2 glasses of water, and we toasted silently to survival, to truth, and to the unshakable bond of mother and son. Brianna's deceit had been strong, but our truth was stronger. That one call, that one careful preparation, had changed everything. And I knew, without doubt, that justice, calm, precise, inevitable, had been served. Daniel's life would never be the same, and this time it would be built on trust, honesty, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her son.